Alrighty, folks, this is episode 154 of Good Old Bloody Thumbs podcast. We're back again. I think this is probably a monthly podcast now at this point. I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of like that we take some time off in between. Like, we used to do episodes almost every week, and then it would get kind of stale. I thought at times, because there wasn't a whole lot of gaming news, and even still, I don't think there's much gaming news. There's some, but there's definitely a lot of things we could discuss. A lot more going on if we just kind of split it up into longer times between episodes. I think that's one of those things I enjoyed the most. But regardless, as always, I'm here, Splinter 47, and CH Gorog joining me as always.
Hey, howdy, hello.
So we're back again. There's definitely a couple things we gotta discuss here, and I gotta discuss as well. I bought me a new console. That's definitely up there for discussion. New console, and some news that maybe are on your minds there, and a couple movies we've seen that we can discuss. But hey, regardless, how you been, good sir? How's life in video game land and all sorts of other entertainment been treating you, CH?
It's been a little bit slow. I'm not gonna lie. You're right. You hit the bad dog on the nose with the rolled up newspaper. It is just it's slow, and we're just chewing the fat sometimes. When there's no real video game news that we have going on. But there's a little bit more developing now, and it's summertime is kind of acid, sort of nothing really going on, maybe an announcement here or two there, or little tidbits, but mostly nothing really big going on. There is a lot of time just replaying some oldies and goodies. Nice. Which include Alan Wake's American Nightmare, Call of War as a gunslinger, and I have not finished Bastion yet, and that's really strange for me, because the narrator sounds exactly like Ron Perlman, and you think like that's perfect, because like if I wanted to be reincarnated, I want to be reincarnated as Ron Perlman, but strange. Anyway, and then the new thing, which is Walking Dead Season 2, the ending of Walking Dead, the Season 2 of Walking Dead.
Holy crap, man! Totally forgot about that. That's definitely a whole discussion we can get into. But yeah, now that you brought that up, like some of those games you've been replaying, so you replayed some Alan Wake's American Nightmare, and you still don't like Barry. You still like Barry, right? Come on.
No.
Come on, man.
I mean, like...
I'm just kidding.
You're damn right I don't. It's funny that you talk about that, because with Splinter Cell Blacklist you got to reach a quota of mentioning it at least once in every episode.
Yeah.
I came back to liking the character of Charlie Cole a lot more, when I gave him another chance. Whereas, like, don't see him as this, see him as this. And I'm really trying to like Barry, but he's just not a character. He's the fat, bumbling idiot, kind of nerd, kind of stupid character. And they did that well in Enslaved with Pigsy.
Yeah.
Where, he was this kind of perverted techie who's, this fat idiot, but he's also funny. And the writing just isn't there for Barry. Like, I kind of wish they almost made him, like, the very opposite. This semi-intellectual surfer. Or something, or if anything, I just don't know why that combination didn't really stick well with Barry, where you had him, being the referencing Lord of the Rings, and it's like, oh, I said a nerdy thing in front of a girl. I'm so embarrassed. It's like, come on. That's not enough.
Yeah, there's definitely some moments where they could have done a bit more with his dialogue, but I don't know. I find them oddly intriguing, but I could definitely see where the criticism
Is that
lies.
the Stockholm Syndrome talking? I know it is.
Probably is. For all I know, after this long without a podcast, it's already settling in.
No. But please, please. I didn't mean. I did mean to interrupt you because I'm an asshole. But no, go ahead. Yes, what you're saying?
No, I mean that's about it. Like it's been a while since I played American Nightmare, so I'm kind of going off memory with like the original game and that. But yeah, that was a quality game. I really liked American Nightmare. I really hope they put out a sequel to Alan Wake because I want to know what happens after that. I mean, after that whole fiasco where there's the ending and there was also additional DLC, which kind of tied up the story somewhat. It kind of further indulged into what happened after that, and there were some really pretty cool design levels in there as well from what I've seen of walkthroughs. I never actually played it personally, but
the first one or the DLCs?
The DLCs for the first one, like there were some uniquely well designed levels in there. I really enjoyed what I saw, but I just couldn't. I couldn't see myself shelving out the money for the DLC. I just couldn't support it. I mean, as much as I love Remedy, I think it was more Microsoft's doing here on that end. I don't think Remedy's the type of developer who would hold out content like that, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
No. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but it's probably that. I mean, usually developers like to put the stuff out there. They don't really like to hold back. It's usually the publishers that gets them to do whether it be DLC or other sorts of non additional content that doesn't need to be there. Like perfect example like Dead Space 2, the multiplayer.
Oh my gosh. Man, I wish the Severed DLC was actually part of the story and the multiplayer was the DLC, because you don't need that multiplayer. Nobody needs that multiplayer. People who enjoy multiplayer don't need that multiplayer. And
no.
It's not like the Dead Space 2 multiplayer is the antithesis of the surprising multiplayer, like Assassin's Creed. Was it Brotherhood that brought in multiplayer, or was that
It might have been Brotherhood, I believe. It's been there's been so many titles since then that I've just lost track. It might have been Brotherhood,
Unity,
I think.
Revolution, Disco Fever. I think one of them is where you travel back to the 70s and try to stop disco from ever taking off.
I play that. I play that for sure.
Robert Redford's actually a Templar.
Oh my god. Must stop him.
How great would that be? And there's just it's and also I was the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood multiplayer or the BioShock 2 multiplayer, where it's like it's a fun surprise. Yeah. Where it's like, oh, okay, I didn't expect much, and this is actually a very fun little game, and they worked within the universe and they made something interesting and fun. And that's not what they did for Dead Space 2, where it's just like, oh, it's the necromorphs and Isaac. Ooh, this is known as ratcheting tension and not knowing where the enemies are coming from. I know, let's have deathmatch. Like, I don't think you understood what the game was about, but okay, let's try that.
Yeah, like adding multiplayer modes for a game that doesn't have anything resembling that. It's just not intuitive at all. It's just lazy and just tacked on. Pretty much.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
And I was just thinking, Portal. Portal was one of those games where I thought, how in the world can multiplayer work? It would be confusing as hell. Like, not only would you have to deal with people of various different skill levels and experiences, but you also have the what if they don't have a mic? How do you communicate? How do you think of complex timing mechanics? And I'll be damned, Valve made an excellent multiplayer with Portal 2. As we played, it was so much fun to go into that and just have ourselves a grand old time, and of course kill each other constantly, which was
Yeah, I remember that. That was a blast when we did that. That's definitely that's still on my YouTube channel. I'll probably post the videos that we did. I think we did 2 parts of that. On it's on my YouTube. I'll probably post it in the show notes. But we played some Portal 2. That was a blast. I think we got into like Iron Man talk because it was how you go from level to level. They kind of disassemble you like Iron Man and put you back together. That's how we got into that whole discussion about like Iron Man and Iron Man 2. I don't know if Iron Man 3 coming out if it came out during that time, but yeah, I got into that whole discussion and ended up squishing you and switching the wrong lever. That was that's a good moments.
Fond memories, and I do remember. I don't think the Iron Man 3 movie came out yet, but I think. We were talking about I think how cool the Iron Man armor was, and I think at that point I was still deluded in thinking that I loved Iron Man 2. It's like, oh no, it's really flawed. It's got this, and then like a couple of years later, just looking back, it's like, ooh, that's the embarrassing childhood photo of movie opinions. Just like, get it away, burn it. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh my goodness! I mean, first time I saw it, I knew from the moment I saw it, I did not like it. I wanted to like it, but I knew that it wasn't up to par with what the first one had set up. It's a shame, but fortunately we had Iron Man 3. I liked Iron Man 3 a lot. I liked the combination of Shane Black and Robert Downey Jr. once again. I mean, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is one of my top movies that they've done.
I don't know if
really good.
Yeah, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is definitely one of those modern day classics, and I don't know if I told you this, but the guy who played the soldier in Iron Man 3, I might have told you this, I don't remember. Once again, I got the memory of gerbil, where he's the soldier that Tony Stark starts trying to find in, I think it's Louisiana. Is there's this video clip of him talking. And that actor is actually a guy I knew back in at UNCW, where he was just this actor who was working at Screen Gem Studios down there, and Iron Man 3 was filming down in Wilmington, North Carolina, and he just got a job, and he's like, wow, he's a pretty sizable part of this movie.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He was very, very happy to have had it. I only talked to him much, much later, apparently, since he was kind of under wraps to not talk about what he was doing. Yeah. He was really good.
They're on constant sniper watch when it comes to filming comic book movies these days. It seems like they can't talk about anything.
Oh yeah, he's
they're bugging their house.
It pretty much. If there's any, do you believe what they're talking about for Batman v Superman, which is they're not allowed to have jokes? Like there was apparently like a memo quoted from like several different sources, like, yeah, we can't have any jokes going on in this movie.
Yeah, I read that. I read that a couple days ago. I don't know, to be honest with you. If you look back at all the previous movies by Warner Brothers and and DC related movies, I could probably, it's not too far fetched, because some of their movies are pretty dramatic and pretty serious. They don't really have a whole lot of comedic relief like Marvel does with their movies. So I think they're trying to differentiate themselves in some way from Marvel with the humor. But even then, I mean, you gotta have some humor in these movies, because you just can't have it just be 100% taken serious the whole time. It's just like, I mean, we've had that already. I mean, we've had those movies. Like, that's why I loved Guardians of the Galaxy so much, because they didn't take itself seriously. It was just a fun movie.
Yeah, I mean, that one was just such a breath of fresh air. Not only because it's certainly not afraid to be goofy and just odd and off-putting at some points, and just there's these really weird tonal shifts that just like happen out of nowhere. Where one of my favorite scenes is like the introduction of Star-Lord, where it's after Peter's been abducted, and it's like the Marvel titles, and then you see Star-Lord like 20 years in the future, and it just he's in this like desolate planet, and then he has these orbs that project like, oh, this is a civilization that was here, and there's pretty dark and sinister insinuations about what happened to the people, especially when they have like, oh, this little girl playing with a puppy dog. They've probably all died in a very horrible way. And then as soon as he enters the chamber, he just puts on "Come and Get Your Love" and starts dancing like to this completely out of tone just like introduction. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I love it.
I know, it was just so different that it hooks you in from the beginning. Yeah, I remember I was also, when I was reading that as well, I was looking at, I forgot what website had this, but they had like a whole list of comparisons with DC and Marvel, and then, from like the late 90s when they were, trying to get comic book movies off the ground, it was just it's early in its inception. Yeah, it's obvious now that, this is not new news, but there's been a whole lot of Marvel movies compared to DC. A lot of the DC movies these last couple of years have been Batman, Superman, and that's about it.
Hey! You're forgetting about the DC cinematic crown jewel, which is Jonah Hex.
Jonah Hex.
That was the main dish. The Dark Knight was the appetizer for the main entree. That was Jonah Hex.
It just baffles me how they're relying mainly on Batman, but they're also been relying on Superman. They've been trying to make Superman work for years, since like the first two movies originally came out, and they've had that, and then they had those other movies like Jonah Hex that weren't really comic book movies, but they're based off comics. And I was looking at a list that also had in there Steel. Remember that movie Steel with Shaq? That's the best they got from DC.
Oh my god. That sadly might be considered one of the better DC movies, just with their batting average. That was just such a weird film. Like, didn't Shaq actually sing a track or two, like for the Steel soundtrack?
My goodness, I gotta remember.
I feel like it was that weird moment where it's like, it was a fever dream where it was like, Shaquille O'Neal, he wants to act. Go ahead and let him. Let him have this. He entertained us enough on the court, so why not?
It looks like he actually did. It was Shaquille O'Neal featuring Ice Cube, and then some other artists in here. The song's called Men of Steel.
This happened, and we let it happen.
It was in 1997. Yeah, Men of Steel. Damn.
I mean, like, I can forgive some introductory bad films, like the first Captain America theatrical film, or the Roger Corman Fantastic Four film, but it's just like, now there almost doesn't seem to be an excuse where there have been great superhero movies. You can make terrific superhero movies with different narrative types, different genres, and DC just still doesn't understand what to do. And with Batman, it just seemed to be like, oh yeah, Christopher Nolan, he's great with crime films. Just let him do this. Like, let him strip away pretty much every single supernatural element and just let him have his day. And that was good. And they got DC got a trilogy out of that. And then it's like with Green Lantern, it's like, oh, well, why don't we make an Iron Man movie? Except we don't know how to make an Iron Man movie. I know, let's make a movie from the 1970s made for TV. And then it's like, oh, so that's what $200 million buys you. By the way, I have a collection of movies I am eagerly awaiting. It's my trilogy of, oh my god, what the hell is this? It's In Time, followed by Transcendence, and Green Lantern. And I hope to do very, very soon either truncated best hits of watching the movie in pain for each of them, or just doing the whole 2-hour spiel. And just, I'm not gonna I'm glad that all these movies I've seen once before, and once was enough for me for all of them. So I just kind of like it semi-fresh, dusted away. So, I'll just get them and see how great they've aged.
You're a strong-willed man, CH. I mean, I'd rather play Dark Souls than do this. That's how much. That's how much I can't do this. I can't watch Green Lantern again. I can't do it.
The skeletons in Dark Souls are like, no, dude, come on, this is too much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to rag on DC. I like some of the DC's products. I don't know why they're just so behind on the way they should be putting out these movies. They should have had more movies by now, but they're just relying on Batman and Superman. And I really want this movie to be good. I like Batman, but I want it to be good. But it's too soon already to be introducing these other superheroes that haven't even had their own movies yet. And we don't even know how well they transition into film without having their own films first. I don't know. They're going backwards on this.
I completely agree. It's weird. They're cramming so many other heroes and side characters into Batman versus Superman that it might as well just be a slideshow with the character and then his origin and description, and then after an hour and a half, it's okay, now come back for the Justice League movie. And it just DC has so little excuse for what they've been doing, because they, unlike Marvel Studios, they kind of already have all of their characters under one roof. They don't have Marvel Studios kind of creative oversight, but at least it's not Marvel Studios had to kind of start from B and C list characters with Iron Man and Thor and Captain America, where they have been established, whereas Spider-Man and the X-Men were already at other studios. They have Batman, they have Superman, they have all these characters, and they don't know how to handle most of them. And the only ones that they could handle were ones that were kind of handled by other people. And there's no Kevin Feige or any creative heads that's like if Jeff Johns were to take over the DC Cinematic Division, that would, instead of just being a consultant, that would make me feel better. Mm-hmm. It's how in the world? Answer me this question: how in the world did Guardians of the Galaxy get a movie before Wonder Woman? What in what universe does that make sense?
I can't explain it, but it's quite unfortunate. I mean, that's all they've had for Wonder Woman is just the TV show, and they haven't really evolved anything from that. Isn't Howard the Duck? This is random. Isn't Howard the Duck DC?
No, Howard the Duck is Marvel. He's a really weird semi-creation where he's kind of a parody of Donald Duck in the real world, and
what a weird
movie was just so ridiculously bad that people were just wow, I don't know how in the world that any well, what did you expect? How can a talking duck make sense? And then 30 years later, it's a talking raccoon with a machine gun and a living tree that only says "I am Groot," that gets an emotional response. It's wow, okay, you can do this.
You just need writing, good writing. That's it.
Exactly. And the Superman movie, I don't know, the comic books, I'm sure there are some absolutely terrific arcs for Superman, but in all the extra media stuff, Superman's really boring. And the only one that I really liked was Superman versus the Elite, and that dealt with his morality. And people say oh, well, come on, he's a Boy Scout, he has a certain set of rules that he can't break, and he's not as bad or brooding as Batman. Come on, he's not going to be as interesting. But then you have someone like Captain America, who is essentially the same character for all three movies he's been in.
Mm-hmm.
Of it all.
Yeah,
and that's what's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it just all really goes down to who they pick to write these things. It's they gotta know what they're writing, and they gotta translate it well to film. It's just, I think there's definitely a lot of different characters in DC Universe they could use. I'm not entirely too familiar with them. I know probably a handful of them that could probably work as a movie, but I mean it's DC. They definitely got a whole lot of different franchises and to pull off and make into a movie. It doesn't even have to be a superhero movie. I mean, I'm sure they got different stories that are just not even DC related. I mean, superhero related.
Yeah, a Zatanna movie, I would love that. Swamp Thing, hell, let's go. If we can care for Groot, let's go for Swamp Thing. And it's like they have such great, and WB has had so many great directors work for them, and they're just not really coming out of the woodwork. I mean, the biggest, Marvel has taken huge creative risks and has gotten the right talent behind all of these things. And it's like, who would have thought James Gunn, the guy who directed Slither and some Trauma films, he would make a great superhero film. That certainly just came out of left field with Chris Pratt as the main actor. Point to me the movie where it's like, no, this guy could definitely be the main leading role in a superhero action-oriented film. And it just, I feel like DC's really wasting a lot of talent and a lot of time, where it's like, you don't need to have Superman in every single character out of fear that everything's going to turn out like Green Lantern, where it's like, oh, okay, people want a new character. Well, let's make this new character, except we won't give him a reason why to like him. Like, oh, he essentially cripples all these men. Shouldn't you feel something for him? It's like, no, come on. It just, I mean, I don't think The Incredible Hulk is that good. It's not a great film, but it's a good film because it has at least interesting characters and scenarios and relationships, and that's what's interesting. And even if the overall story's not great, kind of like with Guardians of the Galaxy, where I didn't feel like the overall plot was great, but I just loved the smaller stuff, the character interactions, just the small humanizing moments. That's the glue.
Yeah, a movie doesn't have to have the greatest story ever, but if it has those good character moments and it's well acted and it's just executed well, I mean, it can really be good. It doesn't have to be, Shakespearean literature here.
No, it really doesn't. But the thing is that, I don't know, DC's got this idea of okay, we need to have it dark and brooding without real aping the Dark Knight style of aesthetics, without really understanding why that worked. It's like, listen, Christopher Nolan wanted this to be, he wanted Batman to be a very dark and brooding character associated with crime, but it also was a reflection of the city, and that's a character in Batman Begins, like the Narrows, and how it's a very dirty, grimy, direct, confrontational sort of area, and just understand, Nolan, if for his first two Batman films at least, understood storytelling. He understood what makes a great story tick, and just letting him have free range really helped. But this, it feels like, okay, they're trying, for Green Lantern especially, where they're just like, oh, okay, we need a shared universe because that's what Marvel's doing, but we can't copying Marvel, so we'll copy the visual style of The Dark Knight without any of the substance.
Yeah. And
it's a real damn shame. I mean, I really feel bad because I love superhero films. I love superhero stories, and it's really just a shame. I mean, I thought Young Justice was good. I love the Justice League animated series and the Batman the animated series. Kevin Conroy will be my Batman to the day I die.
Hell yeah. He's the definitive Batman. Anybody who says otherwise is a darn fool. He is the Batman.
It's just, hearing him, the voice, it's not that it's the lowest gravelly voice. It's not it's the most, not monstrous. Michael Ironside did a version of him in an episode of Batman where they did the Dark Knight Returns kind of episode,
mm-hmm.
And it's just Kevin Conroy's. It's that perfect balance where it's like Batman could be a vigilante, but he also has this personality and touch of I don't even know what it is. And Kevin Conroy brings that out, and I don't ever want him to stop. I literally hope that, not literally, but I hope that even if he I'm sure he's probably sick of playing Batman by now, but I would like to strap him into one of those Clockwork Orange chairs, just like showing him the montage of Batman, just him squirming like, I'm ready to get out now, please. Until he comes out absolutely loving Batman, like, I can't voice any other characters besides Batman.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, we will all benefit from this forever.
Yeah, I think it seems like for me, anyways, I think what really stopped Warner Brothers from pursuing any of these kind of superhero movies that's not Batman or Superman, it definitely was Green Lantern. I think they took a risk on Green Lantern, and they're afraid to take another risk again, and they just want to go back to what works for them, and they're not willing to take risks with new products.
And Batman is the golden boy. They've consistently had problems with there's never been a series which, I wouldn't say that, but with Batman, that's their main go-to guy for video games, for animated stuff. If Batman's not involved, then it's not probably going to take off. Like a lot of the DC superhero shorts on some animated films are great, but it's always Batman on Batman theatrical films, because none of the other films sell. Mm-hmm. And you have Marvel of course has its go-to characters with like the X-Men or Spider-Man, or now with the success of the Marvel Studios films, Iron Man and Captain America, and I like that. So it's diversification, but at least they have a multitude of people. With DC, it's always just Batman or Superman, and nowadays it's a lot more Batman. And it's not that I don't like Batman, but I need to see less of him. Like, how can I miss you if you don't go away?
Just the Assassin's Creed syndrome with Batman.
Yep.
The movies.
Every game ends with him just learning a mind-shattering fact that could have been like the interesting part of the story, and then just goes back to the beginning.
Yeah, Minerva shows up, and then we get the cliffhanger ending again.
And then we get Robo-Batman or Azrael.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
I will give Warner Bros. Credit. Like, the one thing that they consistently, I think, put out really, really good quality stuff is their animated movies. I really like their animated movies. If they could put as much effort into the animated movies as they do in their films, and they'd definitely be, in the race with Marvel. But sadly, that's not the case. But I like their animated movies. I haven't seen the new Batman animated movie, The Attack on Arkham. I don't know if that's anything in correlation to the games, but I definitely am interested in checking that out.
Yeah, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, and Under the Red Hood are just, they're phenomenal stories. And same with Superman versus the Elite. And they really put time and attention into hiring the right people for their roles. Like they had Danny Trejo as Lobo, which was no he was Bane. I was like, wow, like this is perfect. Oh, like unlike the movie version, where it's like, oh, Bane, this guy who's always been portrayed as Hispanic. I know. Let's get Tom Hardy. Yes, don't you see? Yes.
So that's some.
I'm from Tijuana.
I was born there, but I didn't stay there long enough to get an accent.
I don't know which country I'm from.
So yeah, that's our thoughts on the whole DC current state of affairs in terms of the films. I wish nothing but the best. I hope it's good. Yeah. I hope it is.
I hope Dawn of Justice, or whatever the hell it's being called now. I really hope it's come on. Even if you are hopeful for the film, that's a stupid title. I do hope it for the best. I really do. I hope I'm proven wrong on everything, and that it is a fantastic film.
We'll see. Another movie I did see, which I thought it wasn't fantastic, but I did enjoy it. I saw Sin City, A Day to Kill For, which not a lot of people saw. I don't know why it didn't do so well. A lot of movies be bombing this year. Expendables 3 didn't do well, and we got this movie.
I mean, it was at that point where Guardians of the Galaxy fell off number 1 and down to number 2, and I think it hit number 3, and then just like all the other competition got so lukewarm that it shot back up to number 1 just by the essentials of being not as bad. It had better legs, and it's like, wow, is this really this summer? Like, that was kind of I mean, besides the superhero movies, that kind of ended weak.
Yeah, pretty lackluster than past years. Past years have been way a lot better than this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I saw Sin City, A Day to Kill For.
I did not.
I did enjoy it. I didn't expect much from the movie. I actually went in there with not high expectations. I went in there expecting the same thing as the first one, and which is pretty much what it is. I mean, I didn't expect anything grand, but I did enjoy it for what I love the presentation of the movie, the way it looks, and the noir elements. Just the whole feeling that you're watching a noir movie. That's just what I liked about the first movie. It's basically some of the stories that go on is a continuation of the previous movie. So you get a continuation of the Nancy character from the first movie. It was Jessica Alba.
Jessica Alba, who was the acting center point of the entire film.
Yes.
Who was like, all of the other performances are judged to this.
So we got her story, her continuation. She's still struggling with the loss of with Hartigan, with Bruce Willis' character. And Powers Booth, I gotta say, he was really good in it. He was really good in this movie too. I mean, he was good in the first one, but he was really good in this one, chewing up all sorts of scenery. He's a perfect villain.
It's a good thing they have green screen, because they can always generate more scenery for him to chew. Because it's just like when he's Machiavellian evil, that's just great.
Yeah, he was really fantastic in that. I mean, if for all else, I definitely would recommend seeing the movie just for him, because he was a really good performance in that. So when we have that story as one of those other stories that are told in the movie, and the same as the first one. I think there's like a couple different stories told throughout the whole movie, and they kind of all somehow intertwine. So we had that, and then we also have Josh Brolin. He's actually playing the same character that Clive Owen did in the first movie. And the story with that is, I believe from what I recall the first movie, that seems like his story in the Dame to Kill For was actually the story. It was the prequel to the first movie, and you get Dennis Haysbert, who was President Palmer from 24. He's playing Michael Clarke Duncan's role with the guy rest in peace to him, and he had the Golden Eye. He didn't have that before in this movie, so there's a whole lot more story told through that, and by the end of that whole story arc with Josh Brolin, he I won't say what happens, but he gets plastic surgery, and he put prosthetics on to make him look like Clive Owen, and you know what it reminded me of? He looked like remember the movie The Shadow with Alec Baldwin? Remember that movie?
But
it looked like that. You know how Alec Baldwin would turn into the Shadow, and he had like the prosthetics on, and like a bigger nose.
I want to make sure that I'm not getting this confused with Darkman.
No, it's the Shadow with Alec Baldwin. He was like this hat wearing a cape with the guns. It's just blending in with the shadows.
Oh my gosh! Yes, I have not seen this since like '96.
I don't know.
Wow.
I saw that movie like a couple months ago. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was okay. But he ends up looking like Clive Owen. He has the hair and then the prosthetics to kind of look like Clive Owen. So that story with him is a prequel.
Does he also have the incredibly bad American accent like grafted onto him too?
No, it's just Josh Brolin speaking Josh Brolin. I gotta see that first one again. Now that you brought it up, I don't remember Clive Owen trying to do an American accent, because most of the movies I've seen him in, he's never even attempted to do an American accent. But I gotta watch that again.
There's a good reason why.
Yeah. We got that, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in the movie, and he get his own story with him being involved with taking down Powers Booth's character as well, the senator. So you get these three different stories that intertwine somehow, and the movie was okay. There's definitely a lot of different notable faces in the movie. There's a big ass cast in this movie. Eva Green was good too. I mean, she had an American accent, which you know.
And even better, she's naked throughout the entire thing.
I was gonna say that was the best part too. God damn.
God bless America. She's really going for the Oscars this year.
Yeah, Eva Green's looking mighty fine. I mean, if I would definitely recommend it just to see that, just to see the goods. Eva Green is. I'm seeing her in a whole new light.
Hopefully, it turned on some more lights. See some more
lights. But yeah, she was playing this kind of femme fatale character. Yeah, like I mentioned, there's a big cast in there. Some of them are the same characters from the first one, but they're being played by others because I guess they didn't return for the film, and Michael Clark Duncan passed away. I mean, we got Jamie Chung playing the silent samurai assassin chick,
Deadly Little Miho.
Mm-hmm, Miho, and
yeah, it's and there was also Brittany Murphy, who passed away. Rest in peace as well. A couple of years ago. So, does her character pop up?
I don't recall. I don't think so. I mean, I think some of the other characters from the first film were in this one, but I don't think Brittany Murphy's character was in it. But yeah, just a very expansive cast. You got Jeremy Piven's in it. Christopher Lloyd.
wait, Jeremy Piven's in this?
He's in the movie. He plays one of the cops that. I mean, I'm trying not to spoil it, but he plays one of the cops that's in one of the stories, and Christopher Maloney from Law and Order SVU fame's in it.
Oh, that is even better.
And Christopher Lloyd is in it. He plays this. I gotta say what he played. He plays this back alley, very very sleazy. Black market doctor that stitches up Joseph Gordon-Levitt in the movie, and before he get started on him, he just takes like heroin just to steady his hands, because I think he's got some type of like arthritis or Parkinson's. He was great in that little role he was in.
Joseph, you gotta go back.
Dr. Graham or something like that. He actually said that. And then you get like these very subtle cameo appearances, like through a movie. Like Jessica Alba was watching it. It was Frank Miller and Robert Rodriguez were in this like made pretend film of like this noir film that Jessica Alba was watching.
Very very cool. Oh wait, did Tarantino have a cameo?
No, not Tarantino. Not that I noticed. Maybe he was there. Maybe he was wearing all makeup and threw me off. But I don't know.
He directed a segment in the first Sin City. So I don't know if he came back for a scene for this one. Who knows?
Yeah, not from what I saw. But Mickey Rourke is in there. His character's in there. He was in there pretty often in that movie.
I freaking love Marv in the first Sin City. Like that was when Mickey Rourke really came back. I think it was that, and then and just him choosing the right roles. But I think Marv was that really one. It's like, oh crap, Mickey Rourke is still really good.
Yeah, Marv definitely had some good moments in this movie as well. So that's above all else, he was also a standout in this one. He definitely had some good scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed the movie. It was what I expected. It didn't do anything new. It's just kind of more of a continuation of the first movie, and then also maybe a little bit delves into a little bit of the prequel territory with one of the stories that explains a little bit of Michael Clark Duncan's character and also Clive Owen's character originally, Dwight. Then and the whole how he met Rosario Dawson's character, and that whole area of Sin City where it's just a bunch of chicks in leather shooting at cops, whoever trespasses in their area. So
Frank Miller is such a sensitive soul.
Yeah.
Where all the men are murderers and monsters, and all the women are whores, or ninja whores.
That's what it takes to live in Sin City. This city will eat you up and spit you out. Get that saxophone playing in the background. Just that very very straightforward cheesy noir that they're going for. I enjoyed it for what it was. If you like the first Sin City, you'll definitely enjoy this movie and get a kick out of it. I definitely would recommend checking it out if they're still showing it anywhere, because it didn't do very well. There was only like one showing for that movie in like just regular 2D. So everything else was in 3D. They try to get me in 3D. I'm not converting in 3D. I don't like 3D.
No, you made the right choice. I mean, they try to make 3D really, really cool, but we've kind of learned that it doesn't really add anything to the experience over time. But there doesn't seem to be too many interesting films that are going on. They like If I Stay was not really well regarded. The November Man was kind of like, it's an alright action film if you can't really watch anything else. I got some I got some really bad review information from When the Game Stands Tall. And I don't know anything about football, so I'm just like, oh no, he got a touch point unit.
Is that the Jim Caviezel movie?
I think it is.
With Michael Chiklis with like a goatee, just looks off to me with a goatee. I'm trying. Yeah, it's Michael Chiklis. I really, he looks like Jason Statham if he in about like 20 years, just like a little bit like the natural kind of beginning of like the sexy hero, and then just like, oh okay, this is what happens. Not a lot of like the most is it has Clancy Brown. That's cool. Yeah. I love Clancy Brown. He was a sergeant in Starship Troopers. There you go. We got some correlation to maybe it'll get you to go see it because he was in Starship Troopers. So I don't know. If Bill Paxton was in it, maybe I'll give it a shot.
It would be even better if it was like Neil Patrick Harris, Michael Ironside, and Clancy Brown in a buddy cop film.
Hey,
where they're all, just one crazy night.
You should be in charge of these movie ideas. It's Oscar worthy right there.
I know. I keep writing my letters to Hollywood about this, but they never return my calls. Like, imagine this: Jack Nicholson as an elementary school teacher. Just a static shot for 2 hours of a classroom, like the back of a classroom, and Jack Nicholson just going verbally ballistic on these kids who don't react. They don't react. They don't cry, or they don't tell him he's doing bad swearing or laugh or anything. They just stare at him for 2 hours, and he just like has a monologue, and then he leaves, and that's the movie. I think it would make blockbuster history.
Yeah, I mean, or it could be Jack Nicholson in a remake of Kindergarten Cop. That could work.
Okay, now you need to start writing into Hollywood and start demanding these types of movies. Damn, that's a good one.
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Oh, they need to make a time-traveling film where Jack Nicholson goes back in time and meets his younger version of himself, who is played by Christian Slater. Because that is the only way Christian Slater is going to age.
And like Christian Slater.
Oh man, he can't catch a break. He needs to pull a Mickey Rourke, where it's like he finds that one really great role that everyone's like, oh yeah, this guy is awesome. Why don't we give him more work?
Yeah, he's definitely one of those actors. I do enjoy some of the stuff I've seen him in, like True Romance, and and the very short-lived show on NBC he had, My Own Worst Enemy. I really like that show. That show had potential if they gave it another season. Yet unfortunately one of those other shows that just ended with a cliffhanger and just left you there with with your hands sticking out wanting some more. But unfortunately it was during that time when NBC just almost canceled every show, and I think it's still doing it. But fortunately enough, Chuck still still kept it alive, and managed to end their episode somewhat before it got canceled as well. But
only because they got like Subway inserted in every shot.
I mean, you gotta sell out in order to keep the show going. I mean,
damn straight.
That's what you gotta do.
I don't deny that. Trust me. I would have. I was glad. I give infinite props to Universal for making Serenity after the cancellation of Firefly. But the really big important thing is like NBC was starting to become like Fox, where it's like either if it doesn't make like the largest amount of numbers in recorded television history, because now people watch online and on Netflix, so why do we still measure them in Nielsen ratings? I don't know. Or if it's like, oh, this is a show that everybody loves. Like, yeah, but it's costing us a little bit more money to keep it on the air, so we're just going to cancel it and see what happens.
Yeah, it's the way that it's just not adapting to what's going on now. I mean, I definitely guarantee, like, probably Twitch, overall, like, viewership on Twitch, it's just higher numbers than what they get on NBC these days. It's just unfortunate.
I am glad that they did pick up Community. Yahoo.com picked up Community for a new season, so at least, I do like that now we have extra markets. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon is doing their own series now. Like, they have one with Ron Perlman as like a vigilante priest who's killing people.
Holy crap.
And I wondered to myself, why didn't I watch this sooner?
God damn, this is definitely something to put on a list.
I'm telling, like, I wouldn't be surprised if I just hear like, yeah, it's Ron Perlman as a vigilante priest, then I just hear Splinter.
I'm just dead after that. And the next thing you're gonna tell me, like, Steven Seagal is gonna be in Expendables 4.
Okay, if you had Steven Seagal in Expendables 4, do you want him to play a hero or a villain?
I would probably have him be. It's a tough one. Probably the villain. I mean, I liked him in Machete when he was the villain in that. So you definitely pull off the villain role. I just don't know how they would execute it with, like, when they have that big fight scene with him and Stallone, because you gotta have to have a fight scene with Stallone. So I don't know how well he can hold up with Stallone if he can't even lift his leg up at this point.
What I mean, it's I don't think Stallone is gonna do this forever. It's pretty much just like, okay, we got the next we get the Star Trek The Next Generation of the cast going on in Expendables 3, so, and apparently Mel Gibson was really, really well received, so if Steven Seagal was thinking, you know what, I might be a good henchman or a good antagonist, they could throw him in here, and I think they'd do a pretty darn good job.
Yeah, I did see Expendables 3 as well. I'm mixed about it because it wasn't rated R, it was PG-13, and then and also they were also hinting throughout the whole movie, because they were they're gonna pass the torch to, like, these younger guys that they were recruiting as well. It almost seemed like this might be the last one that they're doing, and it would make sense as well, because they didn't really do well in the theaters either. And they're blaming piracy as well as the cause. I don't think that had too much effect on it either.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was just the marketing or just maybe people didn't want to see it. But I don't know. It wasn't. I think 2 was still probably the best one. The second Expendables one was pretty good.
I saw the first one, and to me it was pretty much just like, okay, they didn't really have an idea. They just like, okay, here's a bunch of cool action scenes. We got everybody, all these big name characters and cameo appearances. We got this amount of time to film it. Whatever. We don't really care about a script or how polished the dialogue is. It's not like Die Hard. And then I didn't really hear too many stellar things about Expendables 2. So Expendables 3, hopefully, maybe it can. Would you watch a movie if it didn't have the older guys. Like if it was just like a bunch of the new guys and apparently Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, you know what he should be? He should be the same. He should be, but in character as Puss in Boots.
Yeah, he was actually pretty good in that one. He was just trying to weasel his way in to the Expendables, like the whole movie. That's pretty much his whole arc until you find out a bit more about his past. I thought he was pretty decent in that. He didn't do too much. I mean, either they were just there to be there, but. No, I would probably say the same. I'll probably say the same sentiment. Like the Expendables 2, they kind of had an idea what they wanted to do now. They had more of a bigger cast with notable action heroes. They had Chuck Norris in there, and then Arnold was in there a bit more. And I thought the second one was probably the best. They expanded upon the first one. They were just kind of throwing that idea and see if it stuck. With the first one. And this one, the second one, I think they did a pretty decent enough job, and actually had somewhat of a script there that can hold your attention, even though it was very cliche. With Jean-Claude Van Damme, I think he was some type of. I think it might have been Russian as usual, and then they were just all they wanted was just plutonium. That was the whole story. Looking for plutonium.
Was it even like? Well, what are we going to use it for? I don't know. Sandwiches, I guess. I mean, what do we use plutonium for anyway?
Something bad.
I'm not a really big fan of just straight up action movies, especially a lot of the American ones. But it seems like Expendables 3 and from your recommendation, Expendables 2 inject a little bit more personality. And take time to, even though it's kind of like a wink and a nod, like, oh, we're doing our famous lines and our famous roles and having just a jolly old time. It's kind of a celebration of a type of movie where it obviously would get critically panned, but back in the 80s it was like, oh, okay, this is fresh and this is interesting and this is new, and we get to share this with you at least one last time before the last hurrah.
That's the perfect summarization of Expendables 2. That's as close as as you were describing right there. That sums it up. Expendables 2. That's what that is.
I'll go check it out since I've heard enough buzz to get me interested. So I'll check out Expendables 2. I think it's on Netflix. So
yeah, I believe so. And it's not a very long movie, so you'll get through it. Even though it. Yeah, I mean, they don't make these action movies too long, so I mean, at least they're smart enough about that. They don't make it 3-hour movie like Michael Bay does with these Transformer movies. You're crazy.
Oh my! They don't overstay their welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely give that a shot. I would say 2 over 3 for sure. 3 was almost It was almost kind of a farewell to the era of these old action heroes, and kind of possibly hinting at a newer generation taking over, and I hear they're trying to get a female Expendables movie going as well, so who knows. That's
probably going to happen as soon as the female Ghostbuster film.
Mm-hmm. Which is out of left field there too.
Yeah.
Very weird. That whole thing's changed since Harold Ramis has passed away.
Yeah. Yeah, and since they already, I don't know, with like and also I will go check out Expendables 2. But with the Ghostbuster thing, it's like it's not like there's too much canon already to where it's cumbersome. Like you can just make it almost like an Indiana Jones film. Like you don't need to know what these characters are going through. You almost don't even need the cast. You can just say like, oh, it's a Ghostbusters team in L.A. or in Washington D.C. or in Louisiana or something like that.
Spin it off like Law and Order. Ghostbusters Africa.
I just would like to see just a Law and Order version of just like terrible puns to open up the beginning, like I'm waiting for like Bill Murray to say something and then Bob O'Reilly plays in the background, just like, well, looks like this Spectre doesn't stand, puts on sunglasses, a ghost of a chance, and then yeah.
Sounds perfect.
But it's just like I know franchises aren't big and important, but it almost seems like the new trend is it's not franchises, but reboots, which are the big money getters.
Yeah.
And then it's just like a different trend, but it's almost worse than just focusing on franchise fatigue. Because like with Ghostbusters, it's not even fatigue. I mean, we only have 2 movies, and the second one wasn't even bad. It was just like, okay, that was fine. Wasn't as good. Like, there were some nice moments in there, but it was not certainly as good as the first one.
It would be nice to see Rick Moranis.
Oh yeah. Well, I think all of us would like it. That would be everybody's consensus opinion, where it's like Rick Moranis. He's the guy who did enough to get a name, to get enough money for security, and I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'll head out now. And then they was like, no, wait, you haven't been addicted to heroin or had a really bad Hollywood breakup yet. Come on, stay here for a little while.
Yeah, I think he quit really early before he ended up maybe becoming maybe a shell of his former self. I think he quit early enough where he wasn't maybe put into these typecast roles, or he'd just be in just so many different movies, and they were just so bad. I think he definitely finished up his movie career early before it got to that point. Maybe he would have became maybe the next Adam Sandler for all we know if he still stayed in the business.
Oh, I shudder to just imagine. Like, Rick Moranis had pretty darn good comedies. Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, movies, Spaceballs, Ghostbusters, and just like, wow, those are some classic movies, or at least kind of well remembered movies. And then it's like, okay, I've left my mark. Now I'm done. It's like that. Gosh, I'd like it. Someone who's not just greedy is like, you know what, like Adam Sandler. It's like, let's go to Hawaii and have the Hollywood studios pay for it, or like, hey, let's go to Africa and have a reunited session with Drew Barrymore.
Biggest scam artist ever.
Oh my God, he needs to write a book. That's all I'm saying. A tell-all.
I mean, if I was in his shoes, I'd probably do the same thing. But damn.
He's just brazen about it. Like, it was like in Funny People, he didn't even understand the satire that he himself was doing, like in that movie, where it was just like, where in Funny People, the Judd Apatow film, he's essentially almost playing a parody of himself, and apparently none of that satire stuck. He's just like, oh, he probably watched the film. It's like, well, sucks to be whoever this movie is satirizing, and just like got up and left, and then went to go film Jack and Jill.
Yeah, not enough fart jokes. This movie sucked. I hated it.
He doesn't do it in a little voice like this.
Jesus Christ.
But anyway, enough about Adam Sandler. Let's talk about something that involves another filmmaker, but surprisingly, actually involves video games, and also a video game maker who might actually want to be a movie director. Can you guess what I'm talking about?
Oh man, I hear you. Mm-hmm. I hear you.
You hear me?
This has definitely been. I wouldn't say it was the most. I'll probably say I was surprised about this, but this has been something that's I think we've talked about before in the past, and maybe discussed in previous news. I know that we got the announcement that Kojima and Guillermo del Toro are doing a Silent Hill game, which can have a very lot of potential, because the Silent Hill series definitely needs a fresh breath of fresh air, really, at this point.
Oh yeah, it and also starring Norman Reedus of The Walking Dead and Boondock Saints fame.
Yeah, just a whole lot of questions, and we'll soon be maybe getting the answers to with that. I mean, we got that announcement. Kojima is making the Silent Hill game alongside with Guillermo del Toro. I'm not sure how much he'll be involved in that. Maybe some of the monster designs, for sure. I mean,
oh my God!
Makes sense.
Yes, please. Even if it's just like Guillermo del Toro submitting like stick figure drawings of monsters, that for concept art, that's perfect. Just like I'm sorry. Let me start on back over. Del Toro, I think, inherently knows horror, like what really irks people and what's just really gets them. Like Pan's Labyrinth, Blade 2, even parts of like Pacific Rim and Hellboy 2, where it's like, okay, let's like not forget like horror is about this. It's about this unnerving feeling. I think that's perfect up his alley. And with The Strain, even though he's kind of taking, or actually, it's a very accurate comparison. Where in the Strain TV series, he's kind of only the overhead guy, just like seeing like, okay, let's do this. And even then, like you can feel that you can see kind of the fingerprint on the work.
Yeah.
And the kind of like how when Nolan produces or does something, you can see that. And Hideo Kojima, geez, like let this guy off the leash, please. He's like had like 20 Metal Gear games in the last 10 years. It's like, come on, give him something new. He's practically begging. And he was trying to work on another game, but Sony shut him down. And he was one sad. He was like walking to the sad Charlie Brown theme in the background when they shut down that game. And it's just so great that these two are getting together, where it's like two guys who have not had a lot of success with, Guillermo del Toro's getting some, and I mean that by Guillermo del Toro's finally getting some recognition and more sales and success with Pacific Rim and The Strain, and with Hideo Kojima, he's finally moving out of the shadow of Metal Gear and to do something differently because he wanted to end it like back in 2002. Where it's like, come on, just let the guy move on. And it's great to see them finally doing something new together. Even though it's another franchise, it's something that could be really, really awesome. And I'm very, very happy with that.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of potential. I mean, even quite recently, since I played and finished Silent Hill 2 for the first time, it definitely has really got me interested in seeing what he could possibly do with that series. And even also playing the PT demo as well. I've seen other people play, and I personally have played it myself. And shocker spoilers, people. I have a PS4 now. I bought me a PS4.
What?
Yeah.
You traitor.
It was time. I think PS4 is the future. Future of gaming.
No, that's a solid investment, my friend. I'm still requiring finances to get it, but I will join you in getting a next gen console as soon as I can.
All right, sounds good.
What did you get for it?
Well, I got it at the GameStop. Unless most people like to say that GameStop is evil, but I mean they have decent deals. I got PS4. It was during the special that you buy the PS4, you get 3 months of PlayStation Plus for free, and then you also get a download code for Infamous Second Son. So I got a free game out of it, and PS Plus, and I also purchased The Last of Us remastered for the PlayStation 4.
Nice. That must look tight on the PS4.
It looks glorious. I never played the game on the PS3 originally, but just playing it for the first time on a PS4, it was glorious. High resolution, no frame drops at all. It's like a nice pristine 60 frames a second. It's fantastic. Man. I played that and I've beaten it, and I really enjoyed that game. It's really good.
I just watching the cutscenes and the little gameplay moments where it just feels so right, and that's one of the things that I hope with the exodus over to the current generation, that the PS3 prices will go down so much that I'll be able to get one for cheap and then get The Last of Us, or maybe a PS4 and Last of Us, who knows. But in either case, I really, really hope to get my hands on it, just because I know playing it is almost an entirely different experience from just seeing it.
Yeah, definitely is. I've seen a little bit of gameplay footage of it, as a outside looking in for a while, but then I just I decided to go ahead and get the PS4, play Last of Us, and I really have no regrets. It's a really fantastic game. It has elements of stealth and action as well. I mean, it's very much survival kind of action game. It really put into perspective, like all my years playing Splinter Cell really paid off, because there's definitely some stealth segments that you're probably better off playing stealth, because you get these enemies called the clickers that if they get near you, they kill you. With one hit. You get this cutscene animation, you're dead. They're like one hit kill enemies. So, and they also incorporate these kind of other enemies that are they can see you. The clickers can't see you, but if you make noise, they'll be attracted to you. But they incorporate these other enemies that are just recently turning, and they're kind of this rabid, very very tenacious, very ferocious type of enemies that almost reminds you like the 28 days later infections. The way that they were going, they were all just crazy. Those are the enemies that you gotta worry about, because they can attract the clickers to you, and then you got all this whole swarm coming after you. It's just crazy. There's so much to the game that you can mix both stealth and action, but you're probably better off doing stealth for the most part. It's the most smartest way to play it. You got that, and then just this very 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 strong, very very strong performances, and just really good blend of cutscenes to gameplay. Just all molds well into a perfect just a perfect experience. Well said. I love the design of the clickers. I love just I like how it's taking the zombie sort of genre and tropes of the monster zombies, but they're not just like they have an explanation. They have a physiology. They have at least something that makes partial sense of like how this could happen, and there's actually a discussion about a plot in there, because a lot of times especially with another game we're going to talk about a little bit later, The Walking Dead, a lot of the zombie stories don't really have an overall plot, where a lot of times it's just going from place to place and talking about humanity, and like it's a great explanation. A lot of times the narrative is kind of lacking, but in Last of Us, just watching on YouTube, just excellent story. Love it. Yeah, it's really good story. It definitely has a purpose. It's not one of those stories like you mentioned. It's just going from nowhere and not really knowing where to go. It's just something that has a point A to point B, and you also encounter different people and just different enemies and locales that lead you on to the very last moments of that game, and just kind of leaves you wondering, and having a discussion on the ending. The ending definitely can drum up a lot of discussion as to whether or not the choices that were made were right or not, or if they were justified. That's how much I'll get into, but that's definitely leaves a lot of room for discussion, which is really good.
Yeah, and what I love about that is games like The Last of Us, games like BioShock Infinite and Spec Ops: The Line, they approach morality, but they don't, and sometimes it's a very differing sense of morality, and you can't choose anything different than what that character does, but it still doesn't try to tell you one way or the other of how you're supposed to feel about it. And other very simple storytelling would be like, oh, what this character did was bad, and it's like no, just talk about it, have a discussion, find somebody, and really sit down and really contemplate what these people are doing.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Just to finish up our little discussion on Kojima doing Silent Hill, I definitely have some high hopes for it. I'm really interested in seeing what he does with something else that's not Metal Gear. From kind of what I got out of the kind of the PT kind of demo, this kind of playable teaser that leads you into Silent Hill. what you may be expecting from it. I mean, from what I played, I think he nailed it really well. The atmosphere is what really is important. And I mean, I don't really get scared with horror games that often, but that game really irked me. It was really, really unnerving and really just uncomfortable to play it. Like, it's just the atmosphere is so well done. That's what the Silent Hill really is about. It's just unnerving you and just really, really grabbing at that what really irks you, and that's what really nailed in that what I played. It's just and the Fox engine is really at full force here. It's just really recreating a home, like an actual home, with just everything's so well designed and just so intricately placed, and it's a really interesting little demo there. I mean, it also has that Kojima.
Is it free?
It's free. You can download it for free on PlayStation 4, on the PSN.
Oh, okay.
It has that Kojima flavor to it. It was just so much obscure shit in there that you wouldn't even know unless you saw a walkthrough.
Does it have? Is it Norman Reedus having explosive diarrhea in the middle of the thing? It's like, oh no.
It could explain it. I mean, there's a talking paper bag in one of the segments before when you start the level. A talking paper bag, a fetus in the sink talks to you. And
oh my gosh!
And this, it centers around this murder that took place in his home. I think the husband killed his wife, and she was pregnant. And you're basically just walking in two different hallways throughout the whole game. You go through doors, and every time you go through a door, something about the environment changes. And every time you go through a door, the color changes. It's just a whole lot of crazy, unnerving shit happens in that game. And just what really gets you is just expecting a jump scare, because these are jump scares that I think they're really done well. You're expecting a jump scare, and then when you don't get it, you're just so anxious and nervous because you're expecting it, and then when you least expect it, that's when you get it. It's just so crazy. It has that Kojima flavor, and there's so many different ways to approach that game in order to kind of sort of beat it, in order to get this kind of teaser trailer. You've seen the teaser trailer with Norman Reedus walking in this walking on the street, and that's pretty much all you get. When you finish that game, there's so many different things that are so obscure that it has that Kojima gameplay that I don't know how that will work out well with Silent Hill. I hope it doesn't get too insanely obscure and insanely Kojima, because there's some different things you do in there, and you gotta look at a phone for a couple seconds, and you gotta hear like a baby laugh a couple times in order to activate the ending, and it's just so many different ways to do it. It's crazy.
I am looking forward to seeing the id of Kojima released, of just like, okay, I had to do action and stealth and military stuff, now I'm ready to do some horror. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen any of the videos of any of the gameplay of it.
I've seen screenshots.
Yeah, you should definitely check it out. Maybe check out a gameplay of it on YouTube somewhere. But it's not a very long, not a very long game demo. It depends on how long it takes you to find out what you're supposed to do. But if you can maybe see somebody speedrun it, you can probably just check that out. Yeah, everybody's been playing it, so Chobot played it.
I'm actually looking it up right now on YouTube.
Yeah. Definitely check that out. See what that's about. I think it'll get you with some of those jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
Really creepy.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that horror is now being kind of really taken to heart, and that people are making their way back to genuinely scary horror. And what was it? We were talking about jump scares, and the thing is that I think jump scares are just as legitimate as anything else in a horror film. Like Psycho has tons of jump scares, but they're earned. They're like, nowadays a lot of bad horror films just have jump scares without it's the first opportunity we had to scare the audience. It's not like, no, it's got to be dread and then get the jump scare in.
Yeah, I think it nails that really well in this demo here. Yeah,
one of these videos is titled "PT Prepare to Shit Your Pants."
I mean, that's pretty much I was prepared to do when I was playing that earlier. Yeah, it's really effective. It really got to me. I know I played Silent Hill 2. I don't know if I'll get into it too much, but I did enjoy Silent Hill 2, but it didn't really irk me as much as this did. I don't know. I appreciate Silent Hill 2 for what it was. I really liked the story of it and just like the overall themes of it. There's so much symbolism in that game that you can just dissect it. It really still holds up. As much as the voice acting isn't the greatest, I feel like the voice acting in there was somewhat intentional. Because some of these people are not very stable. Like it just they're all there in Silent Hill to face their guilt or repression from something. But as you may already know, I mean I might as well spoil it. I mean this game is like 13 years old, so you know.
So earmuffs for those of you who have not been spoiled yet.
No, I mean you play as James Sunderland, who gets to know from his wife, and
Donald Sutherland
goes to Silent Hill. You go through do just the fogginess of Silent Hill, and you encountered all these different characters who kind of facing their own demons as well. You kind of see their demons, and this is where the whole Pyramid Head was created, and then this is why any games after like Silent Hill 3, they just try to reuse Pyramid Head because it's Pyramid Head.
He's a cool design.
It's a cool design, but
he's got implications for his creation that specifically originate from the storyline of this game.
Exactly. I mean, Pyramid Head is created by James, and Silent Hill created this because of James. I mean, each monster that you encounter is usually based off of somebody's repression or guilt. Like Pyramid Head is created off of James, and then you get these other characters and their monsters you face, and you see it's Silent Hill just is very, very, very weird there, and it all kind of boils down to you finding out that James killed his wife because she was sick, and he couldn't take taking care of her anymore, and then it just got into this whole it was really well done. Like this, you walk down this long hallway before you fight the final boss, and you start hearing his wife talking. It's just moments, I guess, one of the moments they had during the fight where she just felt like she wanted to die, and she just felt ugly, and then she just was really pushing away James, and then she starts emotionally breaking down and apologizing for what she said, and then it was really good, touching moment there. And you get these different endings as well, depending on very, very weird variables. I know that I think I got maybe the good ending where James accepts what he's done and just moves on, and it all very depends. Like if you can get different endings depending on what you do, just the weirdest things. Like if you hang out with like Maria, which is kind of this Inception by Silent Hill, it's meant to be James's wife, but in a more kind of seductive and more slutty version of her.
Ooh, okay.
So if you stick around with her too long, or just there's moments in the game where I think she just kind of lays down in bed for some reason. I don't know why you would want to lay down in bed where there's just all these different crazy nurse monsters wanting to kill you at this time. I mean, if you go visit her often, you'll end up thinking that she's real and just being with her at the very end. So it's just all these different variables. If you look at the knife too long, too much time and examine it, you'll get suicidal thoughts, and just it affects the outcome and the ending.
Jeez,
just crazy stuff. And it's cool to see that being implemented. It's not an actual choice you make, it's just what you do actually what affects the ending. Just a very very unknown variables. You're not supposed to know. You're playing this through without knowing what variables you're activating that's gonna create this ending. Fortunately enough, I guess I got the decent ending. Yeah.
Gosh, I'm really looking forward to see what they do with Silent Hills, because apparently they're going the route of Alien and Predator, where it's what are we gonna do to make it really good? I know, an S. Apparently that's all the magic you need.
I mean, Kojima's a movie fan, so I think he got that inspiration from Aliens.
I do. Well, maybe we'll see it like Alien versus Predator versus Silent Hill.
I don't know, it was crazy. Like after I played Silent Hill 2, I started like watching a whole different, a whole bunch of different lore videos on Silent Hill, and just there's like this channel on YouTube called Twin Perfect. They just dissect every game of Silent Hill, and then they also explain to you like why all the games after like Silent Hill 3 are crap and how they don't make sense, and just try to make a profit out of the Silent Hill franchise, and just they think they know what Silent Hill's about, but they really don't. But it's really good. Like just there's so many different parts that they made for that. I just got hooked on it, and just I really understand now most of what Silent Hill's about, and just appreciated it for what it was. Even though it took me this long to play Silent Hill 2, I was just too afraid to play it back when it came out.
It is, yeah, it is one of those things where it's like, okay, apparently it's one of the one of the most beloved series of video games, but horror. I mean, it's that I don't like horror just because I'm not a big, I don't know, I'm a big scaredy cat. So it's like it's usually got to be really, really good, like something like Dead Space 2, or in order to get me to really get invested.
Yeah, I think you can get through Silent Hill 2. It wasn't too scary. It's definitely there's definitely some disturbing imagery in there, and the sound design is so good. It still holds up. So that definitely can get to you as well. Just not knowing, like the unknowing, the unexpected is what really gets you. So it's definitely worth a check if you can find it, if you can run it on anything, because it was definitely a challenge to get it downloaded on the PC. In order to get it to work on modern PCs, you just gotta download this community mod, this community mod patch in order to make it widescreen and just make it run, as good as it can. But it looked really good for the PC, and I didn't really want to bother with getting the HD collection because I heard so many negative things about it. It's not even worth the time. Like it's not even worth the time getting it. So I just decided to play the PC version where it was the most optimal and best experience to play it on. So.
Yeah, I long for the day where I can play the Silent Hill HD collection on a console. Just nothing against PCs, but I just don't want to invest money in a PC just because I'm strapped for cash. So, come on, Konami, you can do it again. I believe in you. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, PC gaming it's definitely a good market to get into because the games are definitely cheap. But I mean, you're still at the end of the day, it's never really enough because you're always going to be upgrading the hardware. I mean, I think personally, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some statistics that will prove me wrong. But I think you'll maybe end up spending more on PC gaming than you actually save, just on upgrading the hardware and everything else. But that's just me. I prefer the consoles because it's just there and it looks good enough for me. I'm not a graphics whore. I mean, some people talk about all the time, like, oh, I mean, this game would be so good on the PC with the frames, 60 frames. Like, shut up. The game looks fine. You PC snob. It's crazy.
I think, people who are bragging about Crysis 2 looking great have never considered it again, just because, particle effects look great. But nobody remembers it just because it was not that memorable of a game. Man. It needs to have good art design too.
Yeah, I mean the gameplay is what is really going to attract me towards almost any game. I mean, if the game looks decent enough, I mean, I definitely play it. Also, one thing I wanted to bring up real quick. I haven't tried this feature out, but on PlayStation 4, you can actually stream PS3 games on the PS4. I don't know. I haven't tried it out personally, but I think the price range they got on there, I think is pretty fair. Like they have a price range. I think the lowest you can, depending on the game, the lowest you can rent a game out for is like $2.99. And depending on the range of how you want to rent it, if you want to rent the game for like 90 days, it could probably be around like maybe less than $10. But basically, you're just streaming the game. You're streaming like you can stream a PS3 game. Like they don't have all the games on there, but they're working towards putting some good PS3 games, PS2 and PS1. I know I saw Metal Gear Solid 4 on there. You can stream that game, and you're not even really purchasing it. But even for the price range, if you're gonna only play it if you're only gonna rent it for like 90 days, that's plenty enough time to play a game and beat it. And you still you're not having to buy it, but it's still decent enough range of price. I think so. I think it is. I haven't really tried it out and see how it works. I'm curious to try it out and see how that, and report back on how that works. But just the fact that you can do that, I think is pretty amazing. Just to
that is
stream the
progressive.
Game. Yeah.
That's a rental system that I'm very interested in. I hope it catches on.
Yeah, definitely that, and just looking at what's on the horizon. I think we got Destiny coming out this month, right? So I may get it for the PS4. I don't know. We'll see how the reviews come out for it, and I'll decide whether or not I want to play it. I enjoyed the beta for what it was, but it didn't necessarily blow me away. It's definitely fun with others, so I'll definitely have to consider that. See what happens, but I'm more excited to play, the upcoming single player games like The Witcher 3, Batman, and some WWE 2K15. I'm excited about that. Huge wrestling fan, so I want to play that.
To paraphrase Walter White, you're gosh darn right.
Gosh darn right.
And I'm sorry to be a party pooper, but could we? I was wondering, could we go to the kind of the big one for tonight, which is The Walking Dead Season 2 ending?
Yeah, definitely. I know it's kind of getting late here on your end, so it's all good. We got The Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 5.
Also, I'm sorry, just one more thing. Please check out Madden 15 glitches. They're the funniest thing I've ever seen. They're just like, because some players turn into 1 inch or like 1 foot characters.
What?
And it is just the funniest thing I've ever seen. Or like characters get randomly plucked off the field, then flung into the air.
Jesus.
It is great.
I gotta check that out. I've heard somewhat good things about Madden 15. I mean, not good enough for me to buy it, but I mean, if I maybe get it for discount, I'll maybe check it out. But yeah, we got the finale of all finales. This is definitely the most interesting finale of The Walking Dead for sure, because this actually we'll get into it maybe a bit further here. This definitely has branching endings here, like comparative to like the last season and just the other games they put out, like The Wolf Among Us. Like this episode here actually had very distinctive endings. I think there was like multiple distinctive endings.
There were, and so spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't been keeping up so far. This episode of The Walking Dead sort of is the culmination of this season, which was kind of the reemergence of Kenny and kind of his slow decline into further insanity, and just the word that kept popping up with me whenever I thought of Kenny was justification, because whenever he's lost so much that he has to justify living on and just keeping so true to that justification that nothing else matters. That like not logic, not the group, not almost his own moral compass, but he has to keep going on. And everyone's starting to say like, yeah, he's starting to be like Carver, where he's starting to just like kill, or willing to kill or willing to destroy anything just for his point of view. And Clementine is finally caught in the middle of all of it, and it's a lot more haunting than the ending of the first season of The Walking Dead, because it's like the zombie stuff is almost secondary or tertiary almost, where it's just like these people figuring out what to do next, and Kenny's just this, you don't know what to think of him, just because he's like, yeah, he's a good guy, but you never know what to expect of him, especially with kind of what happens in the 4th episode and this episode.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a lot of signs hinting to his decline in overall, I guess, maybe logic over than just emotion. Like he's definitely, like you mentioned, he's definitely lost a lot, and you start seeing that decline. It starts getting even worse, and you don't know how it's how it ends till like the very last few minutes here, and you're just kind of left with that ultimate decision here. I think we might as well just get into some of the spoiler stuff here. I mean, it's really hard to gloss over it, but yeah, if you guys have not played it yet or are interested in hearing what happens here, I mean, we would probably have to skip over a couple minutes here. I'll probably put in the show notes, when you could continue listening, but we'll skip over that, and then you can come back to this episode later on when you actually play it. So I mean, so we had the lead up with that. We had also some somewhat good moments trying to get the whole group together when they were at the when they formed the campfire near this electrical plant, I think. They're passing out the vodka, getting people a little unwinding and relaxing.
A little bit more liquor. Nothing says calming down the agony of living like a little bit of liquor.
Yeah, we had that, and before that, I mean, we still continued that shootout that happened in the fourth episode, and ultimately, I think everybody dies, and then just leave that one Russian kid there, and they take him hostage. Kenny just being very, very, very vicious towards him, and that's when you start
especially
seeing
Kenny, who almost kills him.
Oh yeah,
and
he goes nuts.
And you barely know anything about his character. Actually, it's very interesting. With it's almost like you had to be the voice of reason the last time around, and now this time around you have to be the voice of action. Where Kenny almost kills the Russian kid, and the group starts to separate. Like, what are you doing? Like, this kid, he led us into a trap, but it's a kid. He even if I'm sure it was put to a vote, he wouldn't have much to say on the matter.
Yeah, it just kind of leaves it into that very gray ambiguity, And you don't really know the whole story. It's just the group is very unsure about Kenny and his state of conscience right now, and they try to speak with Clementine about it, just trying to get some hold of him. It just kind of become more and more unstable. I mean, we had that, and then I'm trying to recall here a little bit. So they also managed to go to some type of safe house as well, and this is where it kind of all starts to escalate when they try to get a car working. Is when I think might have been Mike, I believe his name was, and Bonnie tried to head out and take the car, and then Clementine woke up in the middle of the night and spotted them, that they were trying to head out with some of the supplies, and then that's when all hell broke loose. And depending on what you choose, I think the Russian kid still shoots you regardless, and that's when it all starts to escalate. You thought Clementine may have been dead, and then you have this kind of flashback sequence to it might have been the scene from the first season where with her and Lee. They were talking about something. I'm trying to remember.
It was just like, and it was an interesting, almost discussion point for the episode, because it's like, how do you go on living?
Yeah.
When there's just so much terrible things that happen to you, and what do you do? And it's just so interesting, because you're asking, the game is making you ask yourself that question, and it's a very poignant moment where it's like, listen, you kind of have to. It's the most important thing is for an individual to kind of understand their point in the world. No one's going to tell you, what you should believe in, and what you should understand is kind of the most important thing. That's up to you. And all you can do is follow your philosophy and your beliefs, and just hope that's kind of the right one. You can believe with all your heart and know in your heart that that's the right one, but you only you can decide that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a strong scene there. And also, I mean, we've been also glossing over discussion you have with Kenny as well, with talking about what differently what Lee would have done if he was there, all sorts of discussions like that. So, yeah, I mean, Clementine gets shot, and then she wakes up with Jane and Kenny in the car and the baby. We still got the baby. I think they named it AJ, or Alvin Jr. Might have been the name.
AJ was the name I picked for it. It's like, Alvin, certainly he was a nice guy. He deserves to live on, at least in a little bit, and take care of his son. And that was a nice little tribute.
Yeah.
And,
maybe glossing over some small parts here, but basically, after Clementine gets shot, she wakes up in the back of the car that they, got working with Jane and Kenny, and just this whole thing's been just escalating with them as well. They've just been fighting, both of them been fighting. Just they don't like each other at all.
Oh my gosh! No.
There's this roadblock that Kenny got out of the car, and then Jane's trying to convince you to just drive away and just get away from Kenny because he sees she sees something in him that's just not good for them, and you're at the same time, depending on how you go about it. I mean, I was still willing to believe there's still good in Kenny. It's just like I know he's been through a lot, and I was defending him for the most part in some situations, and then it just got escalated to the point where you lose the car as well, and then they him I think you lose track of each other, so you're in this fog, just trying to find each other. Everyone gets separated, and they meet up at this gas station, I believe, or 7-Eleven somehow. And then I think Jane
had the baby.
Yeah, Jane had the baby, and then she came back, and she didn't have the baby with her anymore. It led to a lot of. It led to a lot of. That was definitely a tense moment, man. It led to a lot of questions, like what the hell happened to this baby? Did the baby die, or did she kill it? I mean, it's all sorts of things that you were thinking of, and Kenny was just pissed because she lost the baby. And thought the baby was dead, and so they had this. They were fighting each other, and then you just try to get in the middle of it, and then ultimately, was that?
It's no use. You can't you constantly try to pull them off of each other. You try to stop the fighting or talk them out of it, and no use. They are concentrated on killing one or the other.
Yeah, it was really tense, and it just leads to this moment where You have the gun, and you have to choose whether you're gonna let Kenny kill Jane or you kill Kenny. That's definitely ultimate. That was the hardest choice he ever made in this game. I know when I was playing, I had to pause it. I had to go to the guide menu. I couldn't decide. I did not know what to do. I really didn't. I mean, I liked Kenny a lot, but he was losing it. I couldn't let him kill Jane. I mean, as much as they didn't get along, I mean, she didn't deserve to die. So I ended up shooting Kenny.
Yeah, same here. Absolutely. It's just, Jane. There seemed to be a little something else going on with Jane. She said, trust me, and Jane seems to have a good head on her shoulder, and and much more, at least, cool. She's obviously not as well spoken as she should be, but there was just something else going on where it's like, yeah, I trust you. There's way too much going on for the baby just not to disappear completely from the story. And with Kenny, it was just like, he's gone. He's just so obsessed with justifying a reason to go on living that he's just going to make this the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and the group was split up because of just his increasing volatility. And it's like, listen, the guy who was like the nice father, and the guy who was just doing everything he could to keep everyone alive, he's gone. Now it's just this guy who's completely, almost psychopathic about finding, his reason of living is the best reason for living, and anybody who disagrees is wrong and will get violent comeuppance.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Actual devolution of Kenny. Like, you see most in games, just the evolution of a character and how they grow. But it was just since he's lost, his son and wife in the first season, it would just become a steady decline, just a de-evolution of that person you once knew, the first season. And after that, after you shoot Kenny, he realizes kind of the error of his ways and just is kind of ready to ready to pass on and just apologizes to Clementine for what he's done and what he's become, and you get that touching moment with him. After that, you hear off in the distance, you hear the baby crying, and then you see and you walk towards the baby is in this abandoned car, and then you realize that Jane pretty much lied to you about the baby being gone somehow. She didn't really get into specifics on what happened. That moment when you found out that she didn't have the baby, but ultimately I thought that maybe it died because of hunger or because it was cold, or this initially
what I thought.
Maybe that too, but
there was just that moment where it's like, oh shit, she doesn't have the baby. Did she use it to distract a zombie?
My God.
Ooh, that would have been dark.
Yeah.
But it just got all those right elements in there, and at the end of the game, of course it's determined upon your choices, and I think there's some like you let Kenny kill Jane, and then you can kill Kenny, or
there's all sorts.
And you can kill Kenny. Jane will explain, like, listen, like, he was crazy. I had to show you, literally, to show you how far he would go. And then you can just leave Jane, and it's just, all these different variations, or you could go with Jane or go with Kenny, and it's just, lots of different ending choices. And
it got into some Mass Effect 1 type of territory there with the endings there. I ultimately ended up also like leaving Jane as well, because I did not agree with her holding out that information. Like, this wouldn't have happened if she didn't she kind of lied about it. I know that Kenny was also losing it, but I don't know, I just felt it was manipulative in some way to me.
I completely agree with you, although I still chose to stay with Jane just because it was like, listen, it's strength in numbers. Forgiveness is what we need. And unfortunately, even though I absolutely detested what she did, it was like, we gotta stay together.
Yeah, that aspect, I agree with you on that. I ultimately ended up just being alone, and it's weird because you don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if they're probably gonna make another season. I'm just curious to see how this carries over, because my ending was just Clementine and the baby, and it was just her alone. She had a hatchet, and then there's these horde of zombies off in the distance, and then she sees a zombie nearby and kills it, and rubs blood on her and the baby just to do that trick again to get by them, and then just that's how the game ends.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I got a completely different ending, which was Jane and Clementine go back to the store that Carver was running, and they find some baby formula, and there's like this family that comes up and just in front of the gate, and they just ask, can we come in? And it's this really kind of quiet, really awkward moment where it's like, are you alone or what? And then like you just let them in, and it's not like, oh surprise they're bad guys, or ooh surprise they're actually really good guys, and they're not armed or anything, but it's like this weird mix of they seem desperate, you let them in, one of them has like a handgun, and Jane and Clementine sort of look at each other, and it just ends. And it's like, do you still trust people after this? And it's just this was, I thought this ending is just as strong, if not stronger, than the first season of The Walking Dead. I don't know about the rest of the season. I think this episode was the strongest of the whole season, for sure. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It just really left me thinking a lot, seeing what they're gonna do with the next season. I don't know how they're gonna progress from this. I don't know if this is the last season or they'll continue it, but I'm really curious to see what happens. I've also seen some other alternate endings as well. I mean, the one where you Kenny kills Jane, and then you forgive Kenny, and there's a really touching scene as well where they go to Wellington, and they wouldn't accept any more people, but I think only children or something like that. And then Kenny ended up just really begging the person who was keeping guard to let the Clementine and the baby in. And Kenny was just gonna be off on his own. And you had this really touching moment with Kenny and Clementine, and then just Clementine going inside of Wilmington, and then just seeing Kenny walking away and not turning back. It's definitely definitely interesting.
Well done. If anything else, just well done, Telltale. I didn't think you could break my heart any more than it already happened at the end of season 1, but I'll be damned if you guys didn't do it well.
Yeah, so really good, really good stuff.
Yeah, so recommend. I would definitely highly recommend this season and this episode. And Telltale, you guys have got some damn good writers on your team.
Yeah, it just really reinforces the thought how interested I am to see what they'll do with the Game of Thrones when that comes out.
Me too. It's just like, ooh, if they made this version of The Walking Dead depressing, I can't wait for Game of Thrones, which is like all 10 characters in the first scene. Yeah, they die by the end of the second scene.
God damn. So that's been our discussion. We definitely really wanted to get into that for sure on this one, the finale of season 2 of The Walking Dead for sure. I think that'll be about it. I know it's we're gonna go ahead and head out here, folks. We definitely had a good time getting back together, reconvening on some of these topics. We got movies discussed and some games. So. Definitely for sure we'll keep in touch, folks. You can always send us some questions on Twitter, and definitely you can listen to us on iTunes and also on the Better Gaming Bureau's website, theb2b.com, and alongside my YouTube channel as well. So if you guys are interested, occasionally I'll be streaming some games as well, and everything's going good so far in the world of streaming, now that I got a better internet connection.
Yeah, excellent. We've got our YouTube channel, we got Better Gaming Bureau, iTunes, Twitter, as you've already said, Splinter. And yeah, just give us a comment or send us a question and we'll read it. And thank you so much for supporting us after all this time.
That's right. So this will be the end of episode 154, and so we'll go ahead and head out of here, folks. You have a good day. Take care.
Alrighty, goodbye, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.